15 seconds.
Welcome to Comic Book Spectrum, a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. Get ready to explore the world of comics, past, present, and future, with our panelists Eric Hawkins, Brian Rodman, and Clyde Hall. And now here's your host, Brian K. Morris.
Hi, everybody. How the heck are you? Welcome to the Thursday, December 16th, 2021 edition of Comic Book Spectrum. We're so glad you're with us as we are nearing the holiday season. Oh, boy. And tonight's going to be interesting because Eric is at a function that he has to attend. Jody McFee may be running late, our usual pitch hitter, and Brian Rodman unfortunately has had a loss in his family, and we here at the program send our love to Brian, and may all the memories be golden. But anyway, we've Clyde and I are going to soldier on. If Joe shows up, that would be great. But otherwise, we are going to go on as usual, or unusual, as this show tends to be. And but the usual thing is to express an attitude of gratitude to Plasma Fire Graphics for sponsoring this episode. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. Did you see those great book covers during that last promo? Well, if you want something like that, but better, on your book, then contact Jeffrey Hayes. He's great to work with, and his prices are indie creator friendly. You will love the guy. You really will. You'll love the look of your book when he's done. And he also produces all kinds of graphics and videos that will help you sell that book. So please check out his Facebook page for Plasma Fire Graphics. Then go to plasmafiregraphics.com where you can contact Jeffrey directly, and I think you should, all right? Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it definitely matters to your readers. We also want to thank the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Rising Tide raises all ships. We're a group of like-minded individuals who are broadcasters, and we're trying to conquer the medium. What can we say? But anyway, please check us out. We've got all kinds of great shows 7 days a week for your entertainment and enlightenment. Following this show will be Stupid O'Clock with Joe Dog McKeel and a whole bunch of really, really great commentators. All geeky, all intelligent, all funny. You'll love it. And then after that at 11 p.m. Eastern will be Dan Hollifield's Last Man Standing with more of the same. You're going to dig it. Then tomorrow morning, I'll be back with Never Mind the Furthermore, and a full schedule for Friday night, which includes Drinking with the Davies. Ted and Chrissy will be making up some holiday yummies for you. And then following that will be Nick Tockert on the Historical Fencing Guild. That's always a lot of fun. It really is. So please check that out. And also check out our Facebook page, and please give it a like if you would, and keep up with all of the announcements. We want to thank also our Patreon supporters. Patreon is a monthly subscription service where for a modest financial stipend, yes, you can support your favorite creators, and we hope to be one of them. These people are supporting us, keeping us on the air, and helping so very, very much. Really don't know how much, but we also give them stuff in return for it, exclusive blogs, peeks at works in progress, and all kinds of great stuff that we hope you will check out too. And if you want to see your name on this card, then go to www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris and check out the wonderment to be had. And yes, you can see I've been playing around with StreamYard this week, but we've got some other things coming up tonight, and like I said, we're going to soldier on like Al Jolson and Freddie Mercury said, the show must go on. And we are going on and on and on and on. And so it is my delight to introduce the other members of this program. And we have the three and only, not just me, but Jody McFee and Clyde Hall. Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
I'm present.
I'm accounted for, so there we go. It's official.
And there's a no accounting for me, so so we have the checks and balances in place. Joe, we are grateful that you made it tonight, sir.
No, I was here. I was just in the wrong room, sitting here, listening to my song that I normally listen to before I try to do a show, and it was kind of fitting because.
Yes.
Nice.
That's lovely. Dude. We got to do that full screen. Put it up again, please. Let's. Okay, this will be an NFT from Jody McFee. So be sure to loosen your pocketbooks, pack up that cryptocurrency, and get ready. That, and seriously, Joe, that's good work. That is
nice.
Beautiful.
Now, if you don't like that one, there's one more coming that I still have to ink, and that's the old school one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How cool. Well done. Yes, Joe is a very talented artist and writer. And no. Okay, tonight's episode is all about imposter syndrome as we stage an intervention for Jody McFee.
And Joe, I had you covered, Joe. I was going to review Wonder Girl 6 if you weren't here. No, not really. I was going to tease
no way possible that you can outdo when it comes to that. But since we're mentioning it here,
yes,
and this is for those that are in attendance right now.
Yes,
you choose your fate. It's either going to be this book that I'll review tonight or a mystery book. You choose. Now, I will give you this.
Okay.
When I saw this mystery book, it hit me in the feels where I had to get it.
Oh,
nice.
So, it brought back some nostalgia, just to give you a hint of what.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you'd wandered into a bordello or something with a comic shop in the back or something. So, okay.
No.
Okay, no, because the earliest comic shops I worked in back in the 70s were both adult bookstores too. So, there's a thin line, but no, and just so Joe oh my gosh, look how that looks here on the screen.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah,
it's a die cut comic. Look at that.
The newest thing from DC, die cut comics. But no, we have Batman here just in case Joe was missing it. Although there is something in here that you don't see very often, but we'll talk about that later when we get to the reviews. First of all, let's introduce ourselves, shall we? Yes, we shall. And we will start with Mr. Imposter Syndrome, Mr. Negativity down the bottom there. No, we're going to start with the great Joe.
I'm just trying to keep moving forward. That's what he would do. Forward. He doesn't care about being the best or anything like that. He just keeps moving forward.
That's true. That's true. So tell everybody who you are, Joe.
I am Joe D. McFee. I'm the president of CGC Studios, creator of this character right here, Elisa Masters, who's a part of the Amazonia comic book, as well as created the AWF and Primetime Saturday Night series, which is superpower female pro wrestling. As a whole here, as you can see, I do write, draw. I have written articles for Comics Unlimited. I've just recently did a 6-page story for an anthology, which I can't go into as of right now. I am working on other stuff behind the scenes, and just recently I just got back into doing sketch cards. So I've just been, just working my way through a lot of stuff, and I have my own show, From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, where I explain things in the industry, show you guys neat stuff like this from time to time. We're actually while working on it, stuff to that magnitude as well. So that's who I am. Don't you forget it.
All right. Very, very good. And And congratulations on C2E2. And also, check out Joe's show from, it was Monday night, actually, special time, where he talks about his time, at C2E2 in Chicago, Illinois. It was fascinating. It was really a good show, Joe. And I really enjoyed it.
More therapeutic because people were ticking me off about how to look at a show and whether or not it was profitable and all this other stuff. And it just... things go over people's head. Business. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that afterwards because we've all done shows. And a lot of the people that make these, because I get that sort of criticism too. Mm-hmm. That, in fact, I did a blog entry on my Patreon page this week about it. Not before you did, it was before you did your show, Joe. Mm-hmm. So, it's just something that was on my mind about what constitutes a profitable show. Hmm. And I think it's different, different levels for different people. So, mm-hmm. But we can talk about that after we do our reviews, and definitely after we let this gentleman introduce himself, the one, the only Mr. Clyde Hall.
Hi, I am Clyde Hall. I am an independent author, a fan fiction writer, an award-winning audio drama scripter, a cosplayer, a comic book reviewer, a lifelong comics fan, a movie buff, a monster kid, a trekker, a Fortean encrypted hobbyist, a vintage toy collector and restorer, a longtime tabletop RPG player and game master, and for want of a better descriptor, an elder statesman of geekery. I created a character called B-Man for Pulp Reality #1. It's a new pulp anthology at Stormgate Press, and his adventures have continued since Pulp Reality #1 became the 2020 winner of 2 Pulp Factory Awards. Pulp Reality, yes, yay! Pulp Reality 2 and 3 are also available right now, and each one has a B-Man tale in the entertaining mix of new pulp stories. What would you do as the owner of a rundown cinema circa 1966 when you discovered the ability to become any B-movie character ever featured on your theater's screen? You can find out what Criswell Speaks does in all the Pulp Reality books, 1, 2, and 3, available right now at www.stormgatepress.com or on Amazon.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Clyde. And I am Brian K. Morris. Yes, Carl, playing with my new green screen here. I am an independent publisher, freelance editor, and writer. I write for myself. Pick this up now on Amazon. It is good all year round. And I also work for, thank you. And I also work for other publishers as well, including the Jim Beard for Crazy 8 Press and Becky Books. 2 volumes of this are out right now, examining the for the first and second seasons, respectively, of the Batman television show from 1966. I am also an award-winning playwright, note the air quotes, and former mortician's assistant. I'm also a floor wax and a furniture polish. So, I kind of do it all too. But anyway, I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad our audience is here. And yes, I've been playing around with the backgrounds too. So try not to get distracted by Superman beating the hell out of that car over and over from Action Comics #1. Donna Carlene was here 32 minutes early, probably even earlier than I was. That was pretty good. Because apparently, here's a little glimpse behind the scene. I thought I'd put the address for this studio into my friends last night. Oh, how tragically wrong I was. Anyway, Carl Witzman mocks her with his laughter, and she's like, what are you laughing at? And we were both so sad getting here so early, keeping myself busy as solitaire, though. Well, at least you aren't wasting your time. Also, check out Ted and Carl's cigar show from this morning on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, who also spotlights Joe D. McFee on Saturday nights with his wonderful show. And yes, it is showtime. And good evening to Ted Davies Artistry. Good seeing you. I'm 10% done with, I'm 20% done with your editing right now. And wow, Brian is really getting good at that green screen, playing around with it. And everyone's saying hello, and all our thoughts go to the guys. Thank you very much, Carl. Appreciate that so very much. And from this, I don't have the correct link either. This is just not anyone's week, is what it was. And hey, Joe D, he will see that eventually. And hey, Phil Leon, how are you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Plug your show too. You're amazing. And yay, Clyde, says Donna Carly. So anyway, well, we're going to have fun here for the next hour or so, and we're going to talk about stuff. And we also welcome your comments as always.
For one thing, look at our festive. We have the StreamYard Tannenbaum duck up here. So this is our official holiday STD up in the corner that Brian has put together for us. Thanks, Brian.
I'm always glad to give you my own personal STD, Clyde. It's the very least I feel I can do for you. But anyway, and you never know, we may have other guest stars too. So
oh, look.
It's Puddles the Duck. Yeah, see, now this is what happens when Brian has too much time on his hands when he should be writing and editing. Instead, he's playing with the toys on StreamYard.
What was that? Oh, my God. Oh, you got me back? Okay.
Yeah, he's back, but he's gone now. But anyway, we also have Christmas lights.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so, and in case, we have a thing to celebrate.
Ooh.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
Wow, Brian's got way too much time. Anyway, tonight we are going to review some new books for you all. And as always, we hope that if you see anything you like, that you will contact your local comic book shop and see about getting a copy. Some things, if they are out, they can possibly reorder through their distributors, which, by the way, I took a drive through Kokomo, Fort Wayne, Indiana. I made a wrong turn, and I wound up driving by the new distributor for DC Comics.
Oh.
They have a swank little warehouse there on the edge of town. I'm telling you that right now. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of interesting. Unfortunately, it's like about what? 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. I'm sure no one was there. Hey, you do tours? So got samples? So anyway, we managed not to go through there. So anyway.
Psst, where's my kickback? Where's my kickback?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been talking about you guys for the love of God. So anyway, so that was our day. But anyway, who would like, since we are bereft of a couple of people here, who would like to go first? We don't have to do the usual order. Or Joe, you want to keep busy there while we talk?
No. I mean, I'm just looking at the comments and looking at the vote. So far, we got one person that says mystery comic.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting
for what
the crowd's going to say. Because I already told us, it's either going to be One the Girl 6 or the mystery comic. But I also want to show a couple more that are some honorable mentions if I do start off here.
Gay festival. Let's not talk about that time. Yeah, the judge warned me about that. Donna Carlene would wants to see your mystery, and so does Carl Witzman. He wants to see the mystery comic. The Zendan on my Facebook page, or over on YouTube or Twitch at the Phil Man X channel. And Diamond has a hidden warehouse here in Fort Wayne. I didn't know they had one there. I know that they've got the new, and I can never remember their damn name, but the new guys that are doing DC and a whole bunch of others there. And anyway, Phil has got his link into his show. Please check it out. He does some great interviews on his channel. Thank you for putting that up, Phil. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Joe, do we get to vote, or are we?
Yeah, you get to vote too. Yeah, okay. I'll let you guys vote too. So we got two for the mystery coming.
I'm curious about the nostalgia angle for you.
So
what would be nostalgic for you? So I'll love mystery comic. I love Wonder Girl, but I haven't got to read this issue yet, so that'll also prevent any spoilers for.
So that means I could go ahead and start.
Do this thing, Joe. You'll have the spotlight. How's that sound?
So, as everybody know, we're going to forego the Wonder Girl number 6. That's for a later time. That's for a later time, or something to do on my channel here.
Saturday nights at 10 p.m. on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network.
The mystery comic is not Wonder Woman, but I'm just showing everybody, yes, I got the next issue of Wonder Woman. That will be done on my channel a little bit later. Something else that caught my eye while I was there, and I'm kind of upset that I bought it. It's a Fantastic Four issue done by Dan Slott. You know, the whole thing between Thing and She-Hulk is back to do some things here, and it turned out it to come out in a flavor of what if She-Hulk was really Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
Oh dear Lord.
Oh my.
It's something, but it is what it is. And then I was hoping that a certain Mr. Pro Slayer would show up. I did get a copy of Daisy #1, and to me, he didn't say enough about this. This one, I want to reread it, but it's a lot more in there than what meets the eye and what he talked about. I like it so far.
Okay, I was going to ask if it's a good thing or a bad thing that you're.
No, it's a good thing. No, it's a good thing.
Good.
Again, cool. I won't pick up a book unless it truly catches my interest. Mm-hmm. And from his review, it caught my interest enough that's like, okay, let me take a look at it. You know, if I do stop by, I might go ahead and grab it. So I did. I read it, and I was like, oh, there's a lot more to this lore than what meets the eye. And I don't have to go back and read it to dissect it down to more to its bare bones here. But he didn't give it its proper due. That's all I gotta say. So, Mr. Hawkins, good job on you. You finally got me to buy something else.
And he's not here to enjoy it.
Yes.
That'll teach him.
Which brings us to the mystery comic. When I saw this #1, it brought back a lot of things from my childhood, especially since, you know, growing up back in the day, you know, how kids nowadays are all anime this, manga that, yada, yada, yada. Back in the day, anime and manga was few and far between. The ones that we did get, they became kind of like household names. For example, we grew up with things like Voltron. People probably remember the Macross saga. As we got it over here, it was Robotech. Space Science Team Gatchaman, which we got over here as Battle of the Planets. Battleship Yamato, which we got over here as Star Blazer. So we had a lot of these things, you know, growing up back in the day here. So when I saw this #1 up here, it's like I have to say, like, my 7 or 8-year-old me just screamed for joy. So without further ado, the mystery comic that I'm going to review today is Space Pirate Captain Harlock #1.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Nice.
Now, the cover is very interesting because it like I said, this book made, you know, when I saw it, it made me get into my feels as a Captain Harlock fan. You know, like I said, I grew up, you know, watching this stuff on television and whatnot. Never really got into the manga and everything. So when I saw that Ablaze Comics, you know, did us redoing the series here, it was quite interesting. Now, the book starts off with a prologue, which kind of gives you kind of like a quick and dirty little history about what has taken place all the way up to this point, dealing with Harlock and the crew of the Arcadia. I'm not going to delve too much into it because it really talks about how this one queen sent this one spear to Earth, and the spear awakening up the Amazons, and ever since then it's just been like one adventure after another, you know, pretty much saving planet after planet after planet while being a space pirate.
Nice.
So pretty much, I think I skipped a couple of pages here. No, I'm in route. So it's like it talked about, you know, the reason the prologue is the way that it is. It's like he's actually looking through his memoirs while he's doing that. And then all of a sudden he gets called, you know, to the bridge and everything. And it starts out with chapter 1. And what chapter 1 starts off with is like, okay, he's the most feared pirate in the galaxy and everything. And the Arcadia came across another ship. And they don't know what to make of it because it wasn't marked, you know, like any other vessel or anything to that magnitude. So they're up here trying to figure out, and then this vessel right here, they're up here trying to figure out what ship did we come across and everything. So all of a sudden the captain was like, well, what do we got? It's like, what we got? It's like, okay, stop your engines, everything. We got to figure out what's going on out here. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, Captain, we gave you a pirate signal. And then he looks over the bow and everything, and he sees the Arcadia. He's like, nope, raise this white flag. We're not fighting them. We're not. It's like, nope, we surrender.
You'll not take us. Who is it? Oh, no, we surrender. No,
yeah.
we're
Not, it's like, oh, shit, that's the Arcadia. Raise the flag. No. So, you know, they see that it was a freighter and everything, so they prepared to board it and everything. So they get over there and whatnot, and it turns out that the crew that they had on that freighter ship was mostly robotic. So they're up here, it's like, there's not even real people and everything doing this stuff. So, you know, Harlock being how he is, he's like, you know what? If it's man like this, there's nothing really worth too much on here worth it to us. Take whatever food and alcohol that you want, dump everything else. So as they did that, they dumped everything else. He heads back to a plan where he could keep his promise to what appears to be someone who he's adopted as his daughter. Yeah, daughter. Wow, I can't even speak. Yeah, I can't even speak correctly.
He's still thrilled.
Yep.
That's pretty art.
Yeah, and there's the spear. That's the spear that hit Earth, by the way. That's the same spear.
Okay.
So it's like in the middle of like this Arctic land and everything, and the little girl's up here. It's like, oh yeah, Captain Harlock is real, this, that, the other, and the kids are teasing her, and then here comes the Arcadia screaming back, and the kids start running off like, help us, we about to get.
Yeah.
I was like, it brought back all the feels and everything, and then out of nowhere there's Harlock, and you know he's talking to the little girl and everything, and while all of that is going on behind the scenes, while they're still there, there's another research team that's there, and this research team is, you know, doing some research on the history of the Mazons, what actually took place back in those battles where Harlock, you know, pretty much defended everybody. So they came back to this one that was encased on this frozen wasteland. And the professors and everything was like, oh, we have to study, you know, we got a lot to study here, this, that, and the other. However, the assistant that they had with them was like, nope, we're about to let that thing free. I'm up here. That's like, you don't, and they was like, you don't know what they're messing with. You don't know. It's like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I was sit here for a purpose.
Nice.
So she opens up, and there's the first Mazon I won't say reanimated because she really wasn't dead, but I would have to say set free. Mm-hmm. So once she was set free and everything, now the assistant is asking for the favor that she was put in charge of, and it ends there, which starts the new legend of Harlock. So we're about to see where the battles with the Mazons going to take off from this point forward, starting over from this issue number 1. Now the rest of the pages are pretty much nothing more than like a sketchbook type deal with some very, very great artwork, great line work and everything, dealing with, you know, some of the panels and the artwork and the designs that they were wanting to use for this issue here. But like I said, it got me back in my feels once I saw it here. And then, without any other advertisement, it gave you like all the other covers for issue number 1 and gave you an idea what issue number 2 is going to look like for Captain Harlock number 2. So that's pretty much the whole breakdown of it, and the mystery book for the evening.
Nice.
Now, without putting on my nostalgia rose-colored glasses, I have to give this issue a 7 out of 10. Beautiful artwork, beautiful told story. The only thing that we got kind of ripped off on was the fact that they don't want to talk much about the history. And I have a sneaky suspicion his history is going to play a factor in this version of the books for this point forward. The books actually makes me want to go and put in the DVD set that I have and watch the series again, from the old school series. But it brought good nostalgia. Now, looking at through nostalgia glasses, it's 10 out of 10. But from your standpoint, it's a 7 out of 10. I believe most people would enjoy this book nonetheless.
Right.
And that's my review of the mystery book, Captain Harlock #1 from Ablaze Comics.
Very cool. Very
nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So you think that somebody who had no familiarity with Captain Harlock would be able to pick this book up and dig it, right?
Yes, because of the way that they did the prologues, because they cut down all his history to like 4 concise pages.
Nice.
And with those 4 concise pages, you kind of get a feel of who he was based upon the memoir book that he was reading.
Very cool.
I'm pretty sure they've got a copy. They've got copies of that at my local comic book shop. So I'm going to have to get it because I would love. I don't know that much about the character, so I would love to see it. And also that artwork. A lot of times, manga the art is kind of a deal breaker for me. It's hard for me to get into it, but that's beautiful. That's, I think it's worthwhile just for the artwork alone. And then to get a real starting level with this character to learn more about him. Yeah, I'm in. I want, that's a good review. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'm tempted too, because I think I did see it at my local shop too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely, folks, if you want to expand your comic book horizons, definitely go down and snag you a copy of that. Now, I have to say, you didn't sound terribly impressed with that Fantastic Four. Moving on to Clyde now. Trigger Joe. I'm sorry.
Put it this way: it's not a checkmate situation at all.
Oh, good. I didn't see that.
Good.
However, I want to say this: it's not a Fantastic Four book. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. That's what kind of makes me upset about it. It's like I get so ready for a traditional Fantastic Four book, knowing that it's in somewhat decent hands with Dan Slott, because you never know what you might get out on. And then I read it, and it turns out to be too much like Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law type.
I didn't care for that show.
But it was interesting only for the simple fact that the Fantastic Four never had to deal with superhuman law before.
That's true.
And then he took that spin on it. I was like, no. It's like, you guys don't know what you're in for. And Jennifer knows what's going to happen. And it's like nobody's listening to her. And like I said, it turned into Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
Man. Okay, so it wasn't a bad thing overall.
Overall, if you didn't catch on to certain themes,
you're lost.
You're lost. For a brand new reader,
I hate that.
It's like if that was the very first comic book, especially Fantastic Four comic book that you picked up, you wouldn't know who all the characters were. You wouldn't know why Jennifer was there when Thing was there.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing of the superhuman law and the lawsuit that was brought up by I forgot his name already.
That's not a good sign.
No, the wizard from the Frightful Four. It just slipped my mind. It just slipped my mind. It's like it's the guy from the Frightful Wizard. It's so much stuff that has been in recent Marvel history that has not been explained and has been thrown at the reader without any context.
Okay. Oh,
good premise, execution lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a shame. And Carl Wisman sounds the sad trombone sound for Fantastic Four Harvey Bird Woman mashup. Wah, 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 wah. And that is a very cool cover on Daisy, says Donna Carleen. That it was, really.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil Leon says, and as for your colorist or pre-press editing needs, check out his portfolio and hit him up on Facebook at that station there at Art Station. And oh hells yeah, Space Captain Harlock. I think you may have sold 3 extra copies. I have a feeling.
There you go.
Oh,
There you
and
go.
Space Battleship Yamato.
Mm-hmm. AKA, if we know in the States, Star Blazers. We know it as Star Blazers, but the original Japanese title is Space Battleship Yamato.
God, and I go back to the day I remember Astro Boy or Tetsuan Atom.
So what about Gigantor and 8-Man?
Yes, Eighth Man. I was about to mention Eighth Man. When I lived out east in Washington, D.C., from late 1969 to mid 1970s, I would literally run home from school, which was quite a distance away, and it started at 3 o'clock. The kids' block started at 3 o'clock. It was Ultraman first, the original Ultraman.
Mm-hmm.
Then Little Rascals for a half hour, and the R Gang comedies. Then Speed Racer. Then Eighth Man, and I don't remember. There was one other. I don't remember what it was. And then it was the evening news. But yeah, I remember Eighth Man fondly, and they even did a live action Eighth Man movie. But can't have everything.
See, I grew up with 8-Man Returns.
Oh,
the sequel to it, because you got the original one in your day. We got the U.S. manga return of the 8-Man.
Yeah,
we didn't know who he was. We don't know who took over the mantle of 8-Man at that point.
Yeah. Well, what always got me about that series was, I remember, at least in the American edition, I don't know if it was in the original Japanese, but the professor that turned Tobor into Eighth Man, he said that there were 7 others. And I'm like, you know, there's some story potential there, you know. You know, how badly did those get screwed up that they had to make an 8th one? And Michaela Jade has joined us. Michaela, how are you? Check her out on Amazon and the Warriors Trilogy. She's amazing. And also, Carl, check him out on Lulu.com as well as Donna Carleen. And everyone said hello to each other, and they are continuing to do so. We like this to be a friendly place. And please, folks, don't forget, if you enjoy any part of this, to please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Give us a like on Facebook, because my poor, tortured ego demands nothing less. But anyway, well, I'll tell you what, I will launch into my reviews now. And we teased. Of course, we got to have the Batman thing here. Yeah, another Batman book. What a shock! But this is the good one.
And how many other advertisements other than Batman is in that Batman book?
I've got a surprise for you, buddy. On the inside, the world of tanks.
You got Arnold Schwarzenegger. They got paid advertising. It's like Batman brings in the celebrities.
That's right, my gosh. And well, you know, since he was in a Batman movie, why not? But yeah, we've got one page of Arnold. And then we've got, you'll be interested in this, a young adult graphic novel of Mr.
I saw that. Yeah, that's going to be kind of like akin to the Newbie, a Real One type book, which again, I have mixed opinions of it. It's not I own it. It's not my cup of tea. They got a lot of good stuff right about it, but it's not meant for me. I'm too old for it.
Yeah, I admit I've been reading them and I've been enjoying them, and I look like I'm breaking up, don't I? Okay, anyway, I don't know what happened there, but no, I've read a lot of the YA books over on hoopla.com, and I've enjoyed most of them. Most of them are pretty good, so I'd probably read it there. Then, of course, Batman Detective Comics, and then House of L. The House of L was one I think I did not think a lot of it. But and of course, Back on Track. And then let's see, then Nightwing, which they've been advertising.
Right.
New Strange Adventures.
New TP with Nightwing, collecting the ongoing series right now. The first part, which is really good.
Rorschach, I can see them advertising Rorschach in a Batman book.
Yeah.
What's going on with Adam Strange nowadays, anyway? Because I haven't. It's like now they're trying to get more push, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I haven't read that yet. It's another one. I'm a little behind in my Hoopla reading because I've been actually trying to get some of the books from my friends that I've been letting pile up over the last couple of years, trying to get through them finally. Then, of course, real good interview with Tom Taylor in the back. Batwoman ad. And here's something for you, Joe.
The new statue. Yeah, the new statue.
That looks pretty nifty, actually.
Yeah, but that means I have to try to figure out how to come up anywhere between $90 to $150.
Mhm.
Yeah. I understand that. But anyway, folks, this book here, it is excellent. This is what all comics should be like. Great story by Alan Burnett and Rick Paul Dini, rather, and beautiful art by Rick Burchett, who's back in this issue. This is a 10 out of 10.
The weapon could be see-through.
Exactly, the die cut one. You know, I don't want to like sit behind it to ruin the illusion. But anyway, and here we go. Keisha Acuff has downgraded us. Hello, okay-ish people.
Wow.
We still love you, Keisha. There's nothing you can do about that. And but anyway, but yeah, this is solid entertainment. They've got a lot of story packed in here as they wrap up the Gotham elections and showing how Jervis Tetch is trying to toss the election to a bad guy. Really good, but that's not the main review. What DC book is Brian going to review tonight? You're asking yourself. Well, I'm glad I'm here to have the answer.
The Ranthagar War.
No. Good guess, though. Give that man a prize. No, this is from Aftershock Comics. It's a one-shot called Miskatonic, Even Death May Die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're not going to believe who recommended this to me. Cookie. She saw this. She saw the title. She saw the cover. Now, we both like the Cthulhu stuff. And she said, why don't you get that to review? And when I have my honey in a comic shop telling me that I can buy something instead of kvetching at me, why are you picking that up? Why are you buying that? I'm going to go with it while it's happening. So anyway, I picked this up. It is by Mark Sable, Giorgio Pontrelli, as the artist, Pippa Boland is the colorist, and Dave Sharp is the letterer. I have to say, I did enjoy it with reservations. It's a beautiful cover.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the cover here. Jeremy Hawn and Nick Filardi. That is a very powerful cover. Now, the inside art is kind of similar. It's kind of, I won't say cartoony, but it's not, like a lot of detail there. But solid storytelling. One thing I like, and it's going to be almost impossible to see here, but you'll notice around this character here that you notice when he's agitated. Look at the lines around him. They're jagged. They're almost like action lines in some of the manga.
Mm-hmm.
And he does that several times to show characters that are being, extremely agitated, and it works out well. But it's a plot and it's a follow-up to one of their books, and apparently it's a pair of FBI investigators just after World War II or so. One of whom has been possessed by someone else who is worshiping Cthulhu.
Oh.
And they talk about Cthulhu coming back. And meanwhile, the FBI agent is in an internment camp for these Cthulhu worshipers. And they are not getting, of course, sterling treatment there. But she has a basic humanity that does not allow her to watch the others in the camp be brutalized by the guards. And eventually she gets in touch with Cthulhu too, which changes her mentally, and not exactly in a bad way. There is some good stuff here. They clearly have, Mark Sable has clearly read the Cthulhu stuff and is very well versed in it. In fact, Herbert West is in the book throughout, as is a very young J. Edgar Hoover. The only drawback to this was I got the feeling there was a lot left out that I would have probably known if I'd read the previous book. Now, this was a one-shot, and they did a decent job on the back of filling me in what happened in the previous volume. But I think I would have liked a little bit more exposition in here. This kind of reads as if this could be tacked on to whatever came before, not having read it. But I will say that as a result of reading this, I am going to hunt down the previous book and probably get on Comixology or something. Because there was enough here to not only make me want to read the previous book, but also to follow any books that follow. There was enough in here for that. Very stylized art from Giorgio Pontrelli. Very, very good, solid coloring. A preview of another book they've got here called Maniac of New York by Elliot Callan, Andrea Moody, and Taylor Esposito. It looks like there's some ickiness to be had, so of course I don't think Cookie will be letting me read that. Well, it means I got to buy it when she's not looking. Anyway, but no, it's a solid comic book. $7. And they don't have any age restrictions on it, but I would think, I think it's one you could leave on the coffee table and not worry about the kids getting it, getting a hold of it. I give this one probably an 8.5. Solid writing, solid art, great coloring, beautiful cover. I think I'm going to look for the back. I know the trade paperback is out. I'm going to look for more stuff from Mark Sable because I was really impressed with this. So.
About how many pages is that? It's an odd size, it looks like.
Yeah, this is kind of like almost like the sizes of some of the Black Label stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have page number? No. And that's a good thing, Clyde, that you mentioned that. I have seen some threads on some comic discussion boards that remember back in the day, comic books used to have the art pages numbered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's like in the old days, in the late 60s, that's how you could always tell a John Costanza job from, say, a Gaspar Saladino or Ben Oda or Stan Starkman, is that he had a -13 in his stories, where instead of like black lettering on white background, it was white lettering on the black background. But I think I have heard, and this is just what I have heard, but I believe it. Comics a number of years ago stopped putting the numbers on the art pages so that you don't know how few pages you're getting.
Makes sense.
So, yeah. So,
well, what's the cover price on that?
The cover price was $6.99. Clyde, my best guess is there's probably about 40 pages.
Okay.
All in all. Let's see, quick 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40. 40 page. The lead story is 40 pages long. I was right. Good instincts, Brian. But anyway, so there's 40 pages of solid art in here. No ads except, well, the front piece is transparent, as you can see, but only on one side.
Right.
But that's for the title page and the credits, the legalese, and then the back inside is bios of the creators and an ad for CBCS, the grading service. Though that's the only ad in this whole book, aside from well, I should say there's also a couple of internal ads, but only a couple. Okay, for My Date with Monsters and the Heathens. So yeah, it's a good book. I really liked it, and I do want to catch up with more of it because it does look like they know their stuff as far as Cthulhu goes, that they went to the source and pulled from there. So that's my review of those two books.
Cool.
So anyway, let's get back to the comments. Ted Davies Artistry said, we had Ultraman, Johnny Sacco and the Giant Robot, then Simba, yes, and then Spider-Man. Yeah, cool stuff. Carl Weston says he was, I guess I was busy watching Marianne on Gilligan's Island instead of Anime. I think Carl wins. Carl wins for the evening. I would definitely be, I'd rather look at Marianne than Johnny Sacco any day of the week. And Keisha Acuff got reported earlier from Facebook for saying beautiful people. What? What in the HE double hockey sticks are we talking about? Why, that's nuts. Well, it's funny. I was going to mention it tomorrow morning, but I got a copyright claim on my Never Mind the Furthermore yesterday morning. 3 copyright claims, in fact.
On what?
On Never Mind the Furthermore yesterday morning.
Title itself?
No.
No. It's not only specifically about some type of content. It was point out to the content.
Yeah, they have to point out when it happened in the thing. I got 3 of them. One was for the overall content. Another one was only for the ads. And then the other one was for all the parts where I am live.
Somebody just messing with you. That's beyond belief.
Oh man! But the thing is, remember Joe? You had an expert on your show a couple weeks ago, Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Hashtag always promote people in the network. Remember you had this expert that knew all about fair use.
Mm-hmm.
He went out guns blazing. And he basically told us, what was it? It was the name is something like British Sorrento or something like that. It's a news organization. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel like typing that out. So I kept, I pushed back, I challenged it. And I said, this BS company has just launched this claim against me. And I cited the fact that I had the right for all of them because, one of them, for instance, was one of your ad that I ran.
That's what I'm about to get ready to say. It's like, I dare it because one of those ads is me. I'm here. Yes. I'm here. I gave him the rights to do what he's doing. You getting it directly from the source. Yes, he has the right to play it. So what copyright claim does he have? What copyright claim do you have?
Exactly.
Therefore, don't let me catch my stuff on yours.
That's right. Well,
we double dog dare you.
That's right. Bring it. I've killed 3 of your claims so far. I can do this all like Captain America. I can do this all day. But I claimed that. Of course, the stuff where I'm live, I say it is me. I am generating the content, and I gave myself permission. Then then the one for the ads was I used the term, these were done in exchange for commercial consideration. Kind of an ad swap thing. That's what we used to say back in the 90s in broadcasting. And then for the overall, I said, please refer to the other 2 BS claims. I believe that's, because it's British Sorrento, and I got word like about 3 hours later that I won all 3. So, I've gotten about a dozen copyright claims for various bits of broadcasting on YouTube and on Facebook. And I have only surrendered once because I did do the research and I found out that somebody who advertised with me did not have the rights to the music. So, but anyway, kids, if that ever happens to you, come see Uncle Brian. He'll get you out of it. Anyway, Keisha got flagged by Facebook for calling people beautiful.
Wow.
Man, if that is torture, then chain me to the wall. Keisha can call me beautiful all day long and twice on Sundays. And Cthulhu asks Phil Leon, I'm actually working on colors for a short for Cthulhu Invades Wonderland as I sit here listening to you all. Yeah, Cthulhu has become kind of the, like in tea, like in foods, like 20 years ago, everything was ranch. And now everything is Sriracha, whatever, the spicy sauce, which I really don't care for. But that's kind of like the flavor of the month, and everybody's doing Cthulhu now. So anyway, and what that's freaking ridiculous. I agree with you, Don, completely. And on PA system, penalty on the play, flirting 50 yards, Keisha Acuff. And I usually get 50 yards, roughing the listener. That's Brian's. And Miskatonic is a town in Western Illinois, I think. Yes, and I believe it's all. And I think, what is it? Massachusetts. I think it's a real town in Massachusetts too. I may have to look that up during Clyde's review. And that copyright claim was from Libyan pirates, right? Hey, I'm tight with that prince over there. So he wouldn't dare. I know he wouldn't do that. And my flag was actually from your show the other day as well. Keisha, push back on it. Seriously, push back if you can on that. Don't take that lying down. And Keisha, how dare they? How dare they is right. And I don't have Greta loaded up on this channel. I don't think I do. Wait a second. They challenged you, Keisha.
How dare you?
So there. Guess we just... I know, Joe. You just never know what's going to happen on this damn show. And Phil Leon says, I had a strike on my show. I hit up the company it was from, and they were like, we have no idea what's up. And it was shortly fixed thereafter. I think the Facebook algorithm went AWOL. Yeah, and sometimes it's bots. Sometimes it is bots because I know some of the music publishing companies send out their little robots to look for music, which is why your quality broadcasters we'll use Ben sounds from the YouTube studio because it's always going to be free. That's one of the terms. It must always be Creative Commons. They can't sell it to another outfit to monitor for them. And I did push back. I can't not say my favorite thing. You can always say it to me, sweetheart. And you are beautiful too. All right. We love you, Keisha. Anyway, now that you've learned all about the internet and the horrors therein, so we're gonna upgrade the show immensely. We started out strong with Joe, kind of got off the track with me. What else is new? But now we are gonna go to the gold standard here, Mr. Clyde Hall, with his review of the week. Clyde, what have you got that you think we ought to read this week?
Well, first, to backtrack to Joe just a minute. When I was a kid, I was in the right era to have 8-Man and Johnny Sacco. Kids at school talked about it that had cable, but we lived out in the sticks. We didn't have any cable, and it was like a teenager before I got my first taste of anime with Speed Racer. Followed very quickly by Battle of the Planets. So I'm kind of a latecomer to the whole thing. And I always felt left out because people were talking about Johnny Sacco and all these wonderful robot shows, and I had no clue. I still haven't seen a lot of them. So that's one of the, that's for nostalgia's sake. That is something I kind of missed out on, and I still feel it. But speaking of nostalgia, my review this week is for something that does also play the nostalgia angle a little bit, depending on where you lived in the country in the 1980s. So, Joe, just curious, because you have a wrestling venue in your publication, in your work. Were you a wrestling fan before WWE and WWF took off real big when territories ruled the country? Hello, Joe. And Joe's gone. What about?
And we drove Joe out of here. But while we have a break here, Keisha Acuff Creations, aka, I did push back. I can't not say my favorite thing, but since I'm on YouTube now, hello, beautiful people. Way to triumph, Acuff. Way to go, girl. Proud of you. Anyway, back to you. We can ask Joe when he comes back.
Okay. What about you, Brian? In the 80s, in the 70s, did you have local, regional, or territorial wrestling alliances that you watched? Or
yeah, very much so. We lived in a town, so we got cable, and I got to see AWA out of Indianapolis.
Okay.
With Dick the Bruiser, the Crusher. I found out Dick the Bruiser was born here in Lafayette, Indiana.
Ooh, okay.
Wilbur Snyder, the world's most scientific wrestler, Paul Christie, Bobby Heenan before he was the Brain, etc. And then we got other syndicated shows from like Mid-South, and one that was being filmed in Paducah, Kentucky, of all places. It was also AWA. But yeah, I was a huge fan of wrestling. Even attended an AWA event in Danville, Illinois, at the high school one night with my mom. Right. So yeah, I was a fan long before the WWF juggernaut began.
Right. For us, it was KPLR TV Channel 11's Wrestling at the Chase from the Chase Park Plaza Hotel, Mezzanine 10, Arcade Building, St. Louis, Missouri 63101. I mean, we watched this a lot.
Nice.
We had Dick the Bruiser. He was also a heel on the show.
Yeah.
Harley Race. People like King Kong Brody.
Oh, yeah.
Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite wrestler. Favorite wrestler all the time.
My mom and her generation from some of the older wrestlers like Pat O'Connor.
Yes.
Bulldog Bob Brown, you know.
Yeah.
And the book that I'm reviewing this week, it delves into that more than I would have expected it to, for being an upgrade of a Shakespeare story.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You have my interest, Mr. Hall.
So, The Crimson Cage, #1 of 5. It's from Artists, Writers, and Artisans Incorporated. It's a $3.99 book, written by John Lees, art by Alex Cormack. The art is by Ashley Cormack. Letters by Hassan Otsmain Elo. And the maturity level, it's rated mature. So look at some of the artwork. Yeah. I'm sorry, Brian. No. Show you some of the artwork involved here. A very interesting Shakespeare / wrestling of the 80s kind of cover. I think it goes between the bright lights of the auditorium and the dark, dark bayou of Louisiana where it is set. Now here, I think they've done a pretty good job of capturing the small territory excitement of pre-WWE, WWF. And, you know, when you have a blading and the crowd begins to get all cranked up, and you see Chuck Frenzy going into frenzy mode. Yeah. But then you switch also to that dark swamp witch setting, which for a Macbeth retelling is very appropriate.
Nice.
And then you have the big guns coming into town for some event shows, and here you've got the Crown Jewels and Van Emerald, who is the current GWA heavyweight champion, world heavyweight champion. And you know, I've seen deals very much reminiscent of this of Hulk Hogan. If you look, Van Emerald he's pretty close to an analog for Hulk Hogan in his appearance and the way they have rendered him. So interesting art style, a lot of action. I really like the Swamp Witch, the Bayou Sisters, who approach Chuck Frenzy and tell him that he has a chance to be a champion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, with that said, is this a title belt I see before me? The buckle toward my hand? Come, let me cinch thee. So The Crimson Cage is a retelling of Shakespeare's Scottish play, set in the 1980s when wrestling territories predominated across America and Canada, and when the forerunner of what would soon become the juggernaut of WWF and WWE was just one of the whole crew of them. There were many between Canada and the United States, and WWF at that time, its colonel was just one of them. It's not the first time that Shakespeare's been repackaged into a modern setting. From The Tempest, turned into sci-fi with Forbidden Planet, to Romeo and Juliet, renovated into musical movie history as West Side Story, both the classic version and the one that premiered under Steven Spielberg's helm a few weeks ago and has not done much box office. Macbeth, in fact, has been served up before as a very clever fast food reimagining. If you've ever seen the 2001 film Scotland, PA, if you haven't, you should watch it. It's a very creative retelling of what if it was a fast food kingdom that they were talking about, and you had an usurper to the idea of the drive-through franchise. So, can the stage tragedy, though, be successfully rendered into a story about staged, kayfabed sports entertainment? Well, writer John Lees and artist Alex Cormack make a great case that it can in this first issue. Lees is a Scottish scripter, and he did work back, I believe, in 2019 on a title called Mountainhead from IDW. That was an examination of paranoia resulting from living in isolated, elevated areas, mountainous terrain where constant care has to be taken or fatal mistakes are certain. And it was a limited series that explored matters of modern identity from being in that kind of a position, the impact of being completely separated from the social and technological grid, and the influence our possessions have in defining who we are. Lee's thoughtful examination of those layers gave me confidence in his handling of a decent man's overweighing ambition to rule and the changes it necessitates before bringing the main characters to ruin. What I did not expect was how the creative team presented that Federation Wrestling territory, in this case, the fictional GWA, and its small local access affiliate, Louisiana Professional Wrestling. I have followed pro wrestling over large portions of my life, mostly before it was unified into such a major corporate entity as it is today, and many were the Saturday nights and Sunday mornings spent at my aunt's or uncle's homes watching that Wrestling at the Chase on KPLR TV Channel 11 that I mentioned. The choreography was more primitive back then. The personalities usually more restrained than today's televised matches and PPVs, unless you happen to have Nature Boy Ric Flair or King Kong Brody in the house for a Sunday morning. But those wrestlers were more extended members of our family. If Pat O'Connor, the preeminent face of the St. Louis Wrestling Club, had stopped in for Sunday dinner, I guarantee you every stop would have been pulled out to make him feel at home. On the other hand, if my uncles had seen heels like Dick the Bruiser or Harley Race walking down the road, the result might have been an unsolved vehicular homicide. In short, these performers put each other over week after week for decades. And even when someone would insist, hey, you know that's all fake, right? My worldly and hardworking farm family would insist, yeah, maybe so, but you try getting tossed around and hitting that canvas face first a few times. See if it's not, even if it's not all real, those guys take a lot of punishment. So in the premiere of The Crimson Cage, Lees and crew revisit that era with, I think, unerring, spot-on accuracy. The Louisiana fans of our main characters are faithful representation, warts and all, of everyone I knew who claimed to be a wrestling fan of that era and a fan of the regional promotions in particular. From the books I've read exploring the world behind the camera at Chase and other venues of the St. Louis Wrestling Club that owned the local airwaves from virtually from 1959 to 1983, the behind-the-scenes conversations and the shop talk of these wrestlers in the story read true and accurate for the time. We begin in the shadowy company of hag-like swamp dwellers known as the Bayou Sisters, speculating on the nature of man and the unmasked truth that no men are good, each awaiting the right push from decency into murky Bourbon Street side roads of temptation. This includes wrestling face Chuck Frenzy, local favorite in the LPW stable and a big draw, but in a very modest venue. He has the looks and talent, however, for greater opportunities and greener purses in the larger, grander Gulf Western Association family. His wife, Charlene, certainly thinks so and constantly pushes him to drop-kick the small-time dust off his boots and show some ambition before they both languish past their prime in the minor leagues. But Frenzy feels loyalty to the LPW for giving him his start and to the promoter who's increased his pay as his popularity grew, until he gets a further nudge toward the spotlight through a late-night encounter with the Bayou Sisterhood. They claim to see the future, and they prognosticate that Frenzy is destined to soon become the GWA World Heavyweight Champion, a position currently held by Van Emerald. Emerald is allied with GWA World Tag Team Champs brothers Dick and Donnie Diamond, and their cards hold firm sway over the Gulf Coast lion's share of proceeds and purses. Frenzy's less than certain about all this, but then comes the announcement that, hey, Emerald and the GWA's crown jewels are all taking a tour down to the New Orleans and Baton Rouge area for a series of big events partnered with the LPW. Frenzy is chosen as the up-and-comer most worthy of a shot at the title belt, and Charlene is quick to encourage her husband along treacherous paths. Wrestlers can go off script, and they can upset the foregone outcomes if they're good enough, and if they have the intestinal fortitude to seize the prize and damn the consequences. But in Van Emerald, Frenzy finds a champ who's been on top for a good run and is interested in bowing out to someone younger as the new champ, someone who can be a more honorable claimant to the crown, because it seems Van's guilty of what Charlene suggested, earning his title belt after upending a script and breaking his predecessor's arm with a submission hold cranked to an 11. It's marred his reign as champ, and in Frenzy, he sees someone who could lead the GWA in a more honorable direction. Together, they choreograph a feud and a resulting title card match with a belt on the line and a passing of the championship to Frenzy. As Lees suggests in his foreword for this book, the power of tragedies is that audiences become so invested in the characters, they hope things will turn out less tragic than when a drama is staged or restaged. The play or movie may be clearly labeled in the tragedy genre, but there's a part of human nature that holds on to that slender hope that the characters evade such a sad fate. In number one, his narrative seems to be going that direction. Why kill or injure the champ looking for an e-ticket to retirement? Well, because the darkness of human nature, the lure of limelight and legacy, and the pesky truth the sisters have already put forth, owning to his very human nature, no man is ever truly good. And the other appeal of tragedy for the audience, of course, is watching fate and circumstance conspire against characters for that final shocking crash and burn. Alex Cormack's art style sings the song of swamp sirens cloistered in the darker, more shadowed settings, everywhere from the backroom New Orleans bars to back roads skirting the bayous. In the foreword, he fesses up to being a Hulk Hogan fan, and brother, does Van Emerald ever remind you of Thunder Lips. In his brighter ringside scenes, Cormack's panels have a slight stiffness of human form, but this nods to the grappler stylings of the day, especially those of the larger and heavier wrestlers. Today, Lucha Underground and other venues, WWE, WWF, have upped the ante when it comes to high-flying stunts in and around the ring, despite their inherent dangers to limb, career, and even life. But in '84, Cormack's take on action in the ring seems staid, but pretty accurate. On colors, Ashley Cormack also seems best relegated to that underside of that swampy look away from the spotlights. Her work on the Bayou Sisters and their surroundings adds shady details and half-formed organic growth to unsettling hues. But she also brings the crimson of blading into focus, as sharp as the gigging itself in some of those scenes on the canvas. Hassan Otsmane Elu's artful lettering gives both effective sound effects that I think even Eric Hawkins would appreciate, and voice to the chanting of packed auditorium crowds with their square circle bloodlust galvanized. He does that, and he also does the spelling out of the sounds of a sharp edge making color with a scalp cut, and the suction sounds of swamp dreck giving up a long submerged blade for new and dirty dealings. If you grew up surrounded by small-time wrestling of the 80s, this title will hold fond memories while also reminding you of actual tragedy, which transcended the weekly televised worlds that we were privy to. While they played their roles to perfection in the ring, performers in my own Midwestern territories, men like King Kong Brody and Kerry Von Erich, were not unmarred by sobering reality. Brody was stabbed to death in an altercation while performing on the Puerto Rico wrestling circuit. Von Erich, the son of wrestler Fritz Von Erich and brother of tag team partner Kevin, died at age 33 from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This limited series creative team is poised to display those correlations, the stage drama and the real-life variety, in trading the strutting and fretting player settings from stage to Canvas Coliseum. And Lees is not wrong. There's definitely a part of me hoping that the final act for Chuck Frenzy will be less calamitous than it was for Macbeth and his lady. So, for representing that nostalgic era so well, and for being a reimagining of a great Shakespeare tragedy, my score from the Crimson Cage #1 is 7 out of 10.
Wow. That's pretty good. It sounds awesome. I've been liking a lot of the material that's coming out of that company.
This is my first review for something that they've done, and I saw this solicited months ago and went, oh, I am so in. And I put in the order then and reminded the shop, Colossus Comics and Games, Mount Vernon, Illinois, for all your finer comic book and gaming needs. And they came through. They brought it out the first week it was available, and I was not disappointed. I thought it was a very, very good. And I had forgotten about Mountainhead. That was one of the fresher, disturbing examinations of a. I guess it's sort of like an insanity brought on by setting. They used to have prairie malady. They talked about being out in the middle of the plains without neighbors, except several miles away. And he examined that Mountainhead in the modern era, beautifully, of a family staying off the grid and avoiding contact. So yeah, I really had confidence that he would go beyond just the surface of this. And I'm not. With the first issue, I'm convinced that all 5 will be. I'll be getting all 5 of them anyway. I really liked it.
Yeah, that one spread you showed remind me a lot of John Toddleben on Swamp Thing.
I hadn't thought about it, but you're absolutely right. It does have that vibe to it.
Yeah.
Is it really more Macbeth? Because it gave me more of the feels of a retelling of the Von Erich's family history, more so than anything else.
I know a little bit about the Von Erichs. I watched them, and I do know some about them. So I think, between Charlene being the wife that insists and push, I do get that real Macbeth vibe. But I do like the idea where he puts out that each time we see a retelling, we hope for maybe a less tragic outcome. And he's a good enough writer; he might be able to incorporate some of that.
And that's what I think about Fritz Von Erich more so than anything about how he lost 2 of his sons.
Yeah.
Not just one, lost 2.
Right.
Yeah, and what was
and
the one?
We don't know what ended up happening to him because he was over in Japan wrestling.
Yeah,
he just appeared dead in his hotel room.
Yeah. Same way with King Kong Brody. It took a while for the truth to come out because he was in Puerto Rico. And there were no witnesses. And then finally it began to emerge, he was in an argument and got stabbed and died. So, but yeah, I think it will be, I trust him enough. He will make it very Macbeth. But you make a good point, and I will go and read up more about the Von Erichs.
Yeah. I
just have,
and
see how it parallels, but,
I think it was Carrie, was in an accident, a motorcycle accident, I think, and one of his feet had to be amputated, and he wore cowboy boots, and he had a prosthetic inside. He wrestled for years as an amputee.
Yeah.
So
the story just feels so much like Fritz. It's like Fritz and his wife because he wanted his sons he wanted that dynasty so bad. He could taste it. He had the sons that had the talent to do it.
Right. And Frenzy, it's all about him and his wife right now. I mean, the Bayou sisters, just like Macbeth, goes, "Oh, you will not establish a dynasty." Now, his best friend, who is a heel and more of a jobber, she's like, "You'll never be champion, but your children will form a dynasty of champions." So we're not really given much of a hope that Frenzy will establish one, but his friend will. They say. We'll see how accurate their predictions are. But
that's nice.
Yeah,
that sounds really cool.
Nostalgia is the key because now you're getting me back into WCCW days. And I miss the AWA days.
Yeah,
I do too. Yeah. Oh my god!
So Sergeant Slaughter back in AWA was Sergeant Slaughter, not what we got when he moved over to the WWF.
Oh no! Or what is it? The oh god, Marty Jannetty, and the tag team.
Oh, Jannetty and Shawn Michaels as the Rockers.
Yeah, the Rockers. I remember they wrestled in AWA, and they were just like Lucha Libre. They spent more time in the air than on the floor of the ring. But like 2 weeks after their last appearance, they're suddenly the Rockers in the WWF. Then, and they went from like really athletic guys to looking like Rob Liefeld drew them. You know, they're just bulked up massively. So but there's something to be said for nostalgia, you know, especially revisiting the stuff that worked. You know, you know, and
the original Midnight Express.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah. And was it I remember the Ultimate Warrior before when he wrestled, I think it was Mid-South, he was the Dingo Warrior. And he made no more sense back then than he did when he
the
made
tag
the
team that he had with Sting back in Mid-South.
Yes.
Before either of them became big.
Yeah, and I can remember Stunning Steve Austin back in the mid-90s down in Atlanta.
Stunning Steve Austin.
Yep.
I remember that. I also remember the one that most people don't remember.
Which is?
Steve Austin as the Ringmaster.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. I do remember that.
The protege of what's his name? The $1 Million Dream, Ted DiBiase, the Ringmaster.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you know, that was the thing. I always loved AWA because you know, I remember one time they had one come down to Danville, Illinois, to the Palmer Center there, and I got into a shouting match with Larry Zbyszko. I used to heckle because psychology here. If you're funny, and my friends and I were all rather clever, we would heckle the people in the ring. And after the first match, they started moving over to our side of the ring to wrestle. You know, if it was a televised event, it wouldn't work. But, you know, it's that same principle. Like, you have a speaker in front of the room, and you have one person that's like, wow, yeah. And then you have somebody on the other side that's like doing their nails, and the speaker will gravitate towards the person that's paying attention to them. And we did the same thing. Like, I also got into a argument in French with Dino Bravo. And I'm yelling at him in high school French, and he is just so excited. He's just getting such a kick out of me mangling his language that he's laughing in the ring.
This is a good way to get a folding chair up against the head. Did you ever?
See, that's the one.
Game terms, yes. You're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to do that. There's a certain line you have to cross before they start.
Well, somebody did during that. You know, it's like, you know, tu es gros et stupide, and he's like, ha, 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 which he should, because I got mostly C's in French in high school. But then somebody, one of the good old boys, way up in the bleachers. This is in Springfield, Illinois. He's sitting back there all spread out and goes, "Hey, you suck!" And Dino told me, you know, pardon. And then walked over to his side of the ring, and I knew what he meant. And he walked over to that side of the ring, and he went and released this stream of saliva that was almost like a mutant power. I mean, the solid glob of moisture that expanded and not only drenched this guy, but drenched everyone within 6 feet of any direction of him. And I'm like, oh my God. And finally, je t'aime, I love you. And he's just like, he's like looking at me going,
no, you good with me.
You're okay, Brian.
You ace with me, yeah.
That's right, yeah. So he appreciated what we were doing. And then it was also the time we had. It was a WWF. It was when they had the Bushwhackers.
Yes,
it's a family-friendly tag team, And they were doing that with me, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And we made a sign because before, when they wrestled in another league, they were the sheep herders, and they were two of the most brutal wrestlers in the business. So I made a sign that said, "Go Sheepwhackers." I made Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson break character when they saw that. They started laughing so hard. But those are the sort of shenanigans we used to do. But and we did go to like an LPWA, Ladies Professional Wrestling Association.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them in Springfield, and then we stopped. My friends and I stopped for. We'll get back to comics in a minute, folks. We're having fun.
It's all good. It's a person for me to promote primetime Saturday night. It's all good.
That's right. Well, I was going to get to that, but no, we stopped at a Hardee's on the edge of town, and I went up to get a refill on my drink, and up pulls the bus for the wrestlers and the managers, and I run around to my friends and go, "You want refills on your drinks?" And they're like, "No, we're get up there and get a refill." And then they went, "Oh, and we invited them to sit with us. So we're surrounded by all these beautiful lady wrestlers, all four of us single guys, which wasn't hurting our egos very much. And we're talking with them, and they're like, "Well, you guys going to be up they were going to do a Peoria show." And I told them, I said, "We've already got our tickets. We're ready." And they were going, "Oh, good. We'll see you up there." And we got fourth row. Okay. And it was so funny because one of the bad guys, who I was getting along with wonderfully, she's going down the row, and this is a televised match, so there's visual records of this. And she's going down, and it was like, going down the row and yelling in everybody's faces, go, "You stink! I hate you! You're awful! Hey, Brian, how you doing? Good to see you. You suck! You're terrible!" And everybody's like,
"Oh, that's great! That's great!"
I just love the pro wrestling shows we used to go to before they became so commercialized. So that's the stuff I would love to see more doing in comics. But anyway, Carl Wisman, when we were trying to get your attention, but you'd popped off screen, said, "I hope the Joe's Hail Pail didn't overturn." Phil Leon says, "I used to see Dick the Bruiser and Yukon Moose Cholak at the local mall here back in the day. They would just be doing their shopping." In Indianapolis, Clyde, you mentioned Dick the Bruiser being a bad guy. In Indianapolis, he and the Crusher were faces.
We're faces, yeah.
And the legend was always going around that you go to any of the nicer restaurants in Indianapolis on a late Saturday night, and like at 8:00, you see Dick the Bruiser trying to dismember Bobby Heenan. And then 2 hours later, you would find them at a restaurant having dinner together.
Yeah. In the era, occasionally they would be like, "Hey, Wrestling at the Chase is taking a break this week, but we will show AWA or the show," and you'd see these same wrestlers who were faces in other venues that were heels at the Chase, and you're like, "Well, but the." Okay. As a kid, you're very confused.
Oh my God, yes. Oh yeah, because
it all depends on the territory. It's like one moment in this territory he's a good guy, and this territory he's a bad guy, and then others it's like, why is he jobbing?
Yeah.
Why is he losing on purpose?
And the Chase, they really, in the 40s, in the early 50s, they managed to try to put wrestling in a very upscale, a venue. The Chase Park Plaza this is where people went fully in tuxedos to dine. So to have the wrestling there, they had built, Sam Munchnick built the whole wrestling foundation there of that. But in Southern Illinois, there are also places like Heron would sometimes have outdoor wrestling of a much smaller venue. And, my mother, God rest her saintly soul, would not have ever said a cross word to anybody, but cussed the television when you would have the interns. And I can't remember their manager's name, but it was Dr. So-and-so, but they were all white outfits and kind of like Red Cross. And they were just the dirtiest heels of a tag team ever. And Leaping Lenny, who was
Poffo.
Yes.
Wait, so that was him before he became, what is it? The
professor.
Professor, yeah.
But he would, I remember watching a few times television, WSIL TV, broadcasting them from a parking lot someplace, which has its own, these are guys that would throw themselves outside the ring on a parking lot and fight out there. Talk about taking chances. But Leaping Lenny, I'll never forget, one guy flipped him. He lands on the top rope, and he just tightrope walks across. He just goes completely and then jumps back in the ring. It's beautifully staged for such a small time venue. But yeah, all those memories. This comes back. The heel that is the best friends with our face, Chuck Frenzy, is called Grud, and Grud is like 6'8" and 350 pounds, and he is just, he is as strong as a bull and almost as smart in the ring. Outside the ring, his hair's all combed and he has glasses, and nobody recognizes him because, he's fairly intellectual.
Well,
I love that. I love that.
Well, that was like one of the wrestlers in the LPWA. She never, I can't remember her name. I'm blanking out at the moment, but she was, kind of, large,
Mm-hmm.
Rather Wagnerian, let's say. And she was, portrayed as, mute, too dumb to even talk, but brutal in the ring. And I saw her after the Peoria show and had her. In fact, I've still got the hat they all signed, the little cap, baseball cap. I got LPWA cap, and it's downstairs in my living room on some of my nostalgia stuff. And she signed it, and she was like, thank you very much for coming here tonight, Brian. And I'm like, do talk, cool,
Yeah.
So it was a lot of great memories back then. Let's see, and Carl Wisman reviewed Clyde, saying Clyde slams the review into the turnbuckle. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, and welcome to the CBS
George the
Arena.
Animal Steel.
Steel, yes.
Takes out all the stuffing.
Yes. Oh my God! Or the Asian wrestlers. I'm blanking on their names. One was a doctor something, Dr. Fuji or something like that. And they do the salt ceremony where they bow and then throw the salt over the turnbuckle. And then at the end, they grab that same salt. One of the bad guys would get the like the good guy in a full Nelson, and then the other would throw salt in their face. And I remember we saw them in Danville versus Crusher and Bruiser, and they tried the same thing with the Crusher, with Dick the Bruiser, and Bruiser just dropped out of the hold. And so the bad guys got a face full of each other, because then Bruiser went over and got the bucket of salt and threw it the whole thing in the other guy's face. The crowd erupted.
Yeah.
This was just like great stuff. Anyway, touch gloves and go back to your corners. Now, Donna Carleen says gloves are in boxing, not wrestling.
Wrestling. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for. Donna's now our new ombudsman, and you are correct. And she goes, well, of course. And hello, Lee Reese, we haven't talked to you in ages. How you doing, fella? Hello there, Brian, Clyde, and Joe. I can't say long, but I'm present and accounted for. Well, good to see you. Good to see you as always. And Phil Leon, the Sheik.
The original Sheik, yes, the original.
Bruiser was the face,
yes. Yeah.
And what's up, Phil? Hope all's well with you, brother. Oh, I love them Wagnerian. Oh, yeah, she was. She was actually quite attractive, too. And hey, Lee, I'm just hanging in there. Hope you're doing well yourself. We all hope you're doing well tonight. But and the thing is, the closest comparison to the old time, wrestlers, especially, I think were comic books. Larger than life abilities. Good versus evil. Evil usually didn't win until the pay-per-view. I mean, until but
And the crossover included things like, in some of the smaller venues, you had masked wrestlers that were the Batman.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure they would get sued into oblivion, but back then, they could kind of get by with characters sometimes in their masked identities.
That's true.
And you'd be surprised which stars actually put on a mask because they were short of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And they would job for other people.
Yeah.
Well, I remember a couple times. Was it Ric Flair? It wasn't Ric Flair. It was Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA down in the Atlanta thing put on masks, but they were what they were doing was there was this pair of terrible jobbers called the Ding Dongs. And their gimmick was they put a bell, like the wrestling bell, on the turnbuckle, and they'd be ringing it to distract the wrestlers. And what they'd also do is hope the wrestler in the middle of the ring would think the match was over. Like they'd pin them, think they got a 3 count, and then they start ringing the bell, and they go, "Oh, I'm done. I'll just consider myself victorious." But it was only a 2 count. And so that's how these guys were winning. And and then people were starting to tumble onto it, and one bad guy group was beating them up, and then the following week and these guys were skinny as rails. Well, then the following week out comes somebody who distinctly looks, physically like Magnum TA, and somebody who you can't hide Dusty Rhodes. There just ain't no disguising that guy at all.
That's a big dude.
He's large. He's extra manly. And then these two guys, of course, mop up the bad guy group. They came out disguised as the good guys came out disguised as the Ding Dongs, and they clearly beat the hell out of the bad guys. And I remember the manager was screaming at Tony Schiavone, screaming, "I don't care, bring them back here. I want a rematch. I'll pay you to bring them back out here." So,
I can't wait for his book to come out. That comic book to come out.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that Tony Schiavone book to come out.
That just looks so good. That really does. And Mark Leonard, always glad to see you, brother. Hope you're having a good night. Good to see you, my friend. And I love the old wrestling matches. I really fell out of favor with them. One, it was about 2004 when the Extreme Wrestling came in. And then it got to where the nighttime shows, especially WWF, were all, one, they were absorbing the smaller leagues.
Yeah.
And two, the matches went to like 5 minutes. And they usually ended in a way that was just a promo for whatever pay-per-view was coming up. But I can remember AWA, some of my favorite matches lasted an hour.
Yeah.
I remember, who was it? Nick Bockwinkel.
And
there's
a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a great wrestler. He and Ray the Crippler Stevens. The great tag team then. But he was wrestling Vern Gagne for an hour. And it was a totally scientific match. And in fact, if you remember that, and at one point, Nick accidentally went into his persona and cheated, and he stopped himself, and he's like, I'm sorry, and he'd shake, the hand and everything. Well, then Larry Zbyszko came in and handed Nick a roll of dimes, and he's confused at first, and then he just hauls off and slugs Gagne. Gagne's out for the count. So the later match was the revenge match was not between the two. It was between Gagne and Zbyszko. And what happened was and of course the referee didn't get along with Zbyszko very much either, because he knew he was cheating, of course, in the storyline. And and they wrestled for a solid hour. Again, pretty much scientific. It was strength and agility. It looked real. It looked really good. And then after about an hour, Nick pushes, I believe he pushed Zbyszko into the referee, and so the two are arguing. And while they're doing this in front of the camera, Nick opens up his tights, reaches like way up in the air, reaches into the tights, and pulls out a roll of dimes and is showing it off to the audience, puts it in his hand, taps Zbyszko on the shoulder. Zbyszko turns around, hauls off decks, and lands down there. And while the referee is counting, Gagne, or no, it wasn't Gagne, it was Bockwinkel for cheating. That's right, it was my bad. It was Bockwinkel was doing this. And so he opened up the dimes and was standing there throwing them onto Zbyszko's body. And Zbyszko's all sweaty, so they're sticking.
Yes, I remember that.
And what was beautiful was then Zbyszko, of course, wakes up. And he's looking down, he sees all these dimes stuck to his torso, and he's complaining to the referee. And of course, he's like, "I demand," blah, blah, blah. And so they call the ring announcer in, and the referee says, "I have just been informed that Nick Bockwinkel has used a foreign object to decide the outcome of this match." Well, of course, he didn't like Zbyszko. He said, "Well, I didn't see it, so the decision stands." He dives out through the ring and leaves. Great. That was great stuff.
Those two matches were throwbacks to the 30s and 40s wrestling, where everything was scientific. And those matches would last how boxing matches was pure pageantry. Wrestling matches used to be the exact same way.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And Lee Reese says, I'm hoping to tune in more often, sir. I just quit my job to start my own business. Yeah, way to go. So I can focus more on my art and network building. Yes. Going to go into the new year strong on the art side. Got to get this book finished and out of my head. Dude, whatever we can do to promote you and cheer you on, you do that thing, man. That is, Lee, we're proud of you. That is great news. And Brian, do you remember the time when the Bushwhackers sat a couple tables from us at the bar at the Rosemont? Would that be the time I was like holding my head down like this and making sure they didn't see me? Yeah. I do remember somebody that kept a room full of people in the Ramada Inn during one of the Chicago cons. Every time we all were trying to fall asleep, somebody, my bedmate, would wait till it was real quiet and they'd say, I saw Stan Lee downstairs. He's giving all the little boys his own personal enough said. And keeping us awake like every 20 minutes to do this crap. Anyway, good times, folks. Good times. But no, thank you, Clyde. That was wonderful. Chicago Comic-Con. Oh, my God, the stories we have from Chicago Comic-Con. We had that. You talk about our wrestling adventures. Those probably would match
exceed or
yeah we've got a lot to live down.
Yeah,
you know, I remember one friend of mine, we'll call him Dave because that's his name. He got stuck on the Tri-State Tollway, and we told him, it's going to be crowded, allow for the time. And he came in madder than hell that it took so long. I remember opening up the door to our room, and he launched himself at somebody who had given him, the guy who had given him directions. And he's, Dave's screaming out, I don't know who you are, and he's like, my friend's like, you know me, Dave! So... So anyway, Bill Leon says that's awesome. Lee, kick much art ace. Seriously, Lee is a great artist. I gotta find that portrait you did of me a long time ago. I gotta start pimping that on here. But no, we're proud of you. And individual businesses are, I believe, the backbone of this country, and we are our own businesses here. Mm-hmm. So Joe's got a studio, Clyde's got a freelance writing career, and I'm Cookie's. She's not here, so I'm Cookie's. So anyway,
the kept man.
A kept man. I'm a good house husband, is what it is, especially right now. So, but anyway, that is good. Clyde, thank you for that review. That was awesome. Oh, excuse me. And definitely. And anyway, like I said, check out Joe's show from Monday night, talking about C2E2, and we've got a few minutes. What are some of your thoughts, Joe, about? And Joe's like, I didn't come here to be interrogated. Anyway, it was an excellent show about working a show. And I guess the best way to say it is finding the profit in a show that isn't always financial.
Well, that's the key thing, because everybody looks at profit and loss, and it really depends upon your particular business. Mm-hmm. And when you go to a show like C2E2, a major show like C2E2, let's say San Diego, New York, anything that's, I would say, brings in anywhere between, let's say, 50,000 or more people into it.
All right.
People get so adamant about, I didn't make X amount of money in sales. Mm-hmm. It was a bad show. Or, I normally, get X amount of dollars worth of sales. It was a bad show. It's like, wait a second. Let's look at the bigger picture here, depending on where you're at and what type of business that you're truly in. Your brick and mortar merchandise stores. I was up here, was complaining about them, because it's like, I hear from them, I hear from other creators, I hear from other publishers that were there selling their wares. It's like, the anime crowd, the cosplayers are ruining these Comic Cons because they don't come, buying. It's like, no. You're not doing anything to bring them over, to make them open up their wallets.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I saw what was going on for what it was. I was like, what do I need to do? It's like, what merchandise do I need to have here at this particular show as opposed to this other show and this other show and this other show? Because each show has this particular clientele.
Right.
And on top of that, this is the first C2E2 since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did not show. Like I said, it wasn't wall-to-wall people. We were spread out even more so. They didn't have the same number of vendors there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was changed.
Yeah, and with the year off, it's almost like a rebuilding year, like a sports team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But hearing the complaints and hearing, all it's kind of weird because it's like those who had like the anime and manga type stuff, they did okay. Yeah. Everybody else was complaining about lack of sales, lack of this, lack of that. It's like, but you have to understand the show is kind of like a major hangout for people to come and enjoy themselves.
Right.
To get them to buy stuff from you means that they have to get to know and like you or know your product or branding in such a way. So if you're not doing that aspect correctly, then you might have to take note.
Yep.
What interests this person? What are they seeing at my booth that made them glance over here for at least 2 to 10 seconds? And then let's keep, doing more stuff like that. Find those things to get people's attention, because all this stuff comes back down to branding 101. Mm-hmm. You got a product to sell. It's not about the final sell of the product. It's about the branding, because again, me being an independent publisher, they don't know about Elisa Masters. Mm-hmm. They barely know about the book that she's in, Amazonia, but I've been at C2E2 since the very first one. They know of Exigency Studios. They keep seeing this banner. They keep seeing other stuff that I put up, and then eventually they're going to register. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, we know that guy. That guy always be here and this, that, and the other. It's like, let me go try and check out his books now. Let's see something new that he got. That's the game that you have to play. Mm-hmm. But nobody wants to look at that. Everybody's like, I got to make my money now. It's like, well, you're not playing the long haul game. You're not playing the long game. You're playing this short, get in, get out. And guess what? Sometimes you when you roll the dice, you pass it. Other times you hit snake eyes and crap out.
Right.
It is what it is. But when you play that long game, it's not always about financials. It's about longevity. And can I make at least a master cross over into other stuff that people may want to see her in, like lunch boxes, animation, movies, apparel, wrapping paper out of weird toilet paper. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we have an easier time as creatives than, I can understand somebody that like sells t-shirts or print.
Actually, it should be the opposite. Yeah. Because if you sell t-shirts, your clientele if you pay attention.
Right. If you pay attention.
And that's the key thing. And that's what was driving me up the wall. It's like, you coming into a show where there's going to be a cross section of people. If you only bring your American comic book stuff, then you alienate everybody else. And whose fault is that? That's on you. That's not on them.
Right. Well, and also, not to mitigate, profit and loss at the show, but it was also held in December, which is not a traditional buying season. Plus, you mentioned, the COVID, they had to take a year off. Mm-hmm. So, and usually the show is, let's see, when is it usually? I forget.
Normally it's in March, but now with Wizard World being gone, going to have the next one in August. And I have a sneaky suspicion that it's always going to be in August from this point forward. It's about to become stable again.
Yeah. But, the thing is, that, like I said, December's not
not
a traditional comic buying month, unless you're buying for a geek friend.
Not just December, 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that is a mitigating factor, but you're right. You have to, temper your expectations for one thing. Mm-hmm. And not every show will be great. But, like you were saying, that, like I say, especially for creatives, networking is good. Networking should be strong. Trying to get people to sign up for any mailing list you may have. Just talking to them and feeling them out. What would you like to see? Also, something I see in a lot of shows are people that don't set up their displays for the audience. Like I do a number of books that are not they're not literary, they're pulp, they're new pulp, they're for enjoyment. But if I'm at a comic show, I'm going to put like Volcana and Skyman front and center if I'm just selling books. And I also carry comics that I work on. But I'm going to put the more four color stuff to the foreground. But if I'm going to, like, say, a venue that's just a book show, I'm likely to put the horror books up, like Bachelor's Grove and Sandestein, because that has a more mainstream appeal than, Flights and Tides. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of people just have the same display, but they aren't versatile in how they set it up to gain people's attention.
What Joe's saying, I've seen my wife do this. She's the one that sets up, she started doing booths for crafts. And she had the standard things that she did, but she has evolved over time. She figured out that she was one of the few people that did a few steampunk pieces. So suddenly she's got the steampunk crowd coming to her table every time they see her to see what she's got. Now, this also dovetailed nicely with my new pulp writing, like for Pulp Reality, because guess what? Some of the artwork in those books is very steampunk. Yeah. Why, look, we're selling books now too, along with the steampunk. She didn't get rid of the other things, but she expanded. She saw an interest. She saw that market. And so we have been able to combine what we produce and appeal to an audience that wasn't too represented or didn't feel like they had very much to shop from in other places. So now she has kind of this steampunk following, and I am quite happy to work in her wake and go, and here's Pulp Reality also. So
there you go.
Yeah, you're very, very accurate, Joe. Very good observations.
Yeah. But yeah,
it's what I got it from doing this stuff for over a decade now. I mean,
right.
I didn't come into this business knowing much of anything. I don't have a background in sales, don't have a background really in comics per se as far as production is concerned. I learned most of the stuff, by on the fly. When I say on the fly, I'm talking about, learn as you work it.
Right.
Trial and error. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way most of us have to do this thing. Well, especially, you mentioned being, doing this for over 10 years. It was almost 10 years ago I started publishing on my own. I didn't even know that you could publish your own stuff without buying like a warehouse full of books. But now with print on demand, it's totally different, both in comics and in prose. But this is a lot of stuff that nobody was talking about 10 years ago. And unfortunately, people come into this business not knowing what they don't know. They don't know enough to be able to frame the question they need to ask. And that's why, here at Rising Tide, we take it upon ourselves to try to answer those questions whenever they present themselves, which is how we pay it forward. Because it's the only way we can repay the people that helped us get where we are. But no, it's a lot of people just don't understand what goes into setting up at a show. And the same weekend Joe was at C2E2, I was in Toledo, Ohio, at a book show at a mall, which had its own challenges because people are there to just, the place is packed, but they were there to buy what they wanted to buy. And we just happened to be there. They're not coming in saying, oh, some people did know about us. The promoter did a great job of publicizing the show, but people are there to, they're going to go to Bed Bath and Beyond. There was a huge line of people. Apparently somebody was releasing a brand new tennis shoe and Foot Locker had it. So there's like, all the cords to keep the lines in place. Apple, they had an Apple store there and they were doing killer business, but those people were not there to buy my book. And I did pay for my table, but like you say, you have to, and I did this in a blog entry on my Patreon page this week. not knowing what Joe was going to do that night on his show. But especially for creatives, there are other ways to profit, like networking, especially where you talk to your fellows and pick their brains. How do you do what you do? Where do you go that isn't here? Can you recommend shows? Can you recommend people I can work with? Things that will help you in your business that, like Joe very wisely said about long game, that it may not put money in your pocket right now, but 6 months from now, it could be very profitable. A year from now, it could be profitable. Or it could just be something that keeps you in the business till you find what you need to know. So, it's just like the rewards are not always financial in this.
Exactly.
You got to hang out with Henri Compon this weekend, Joe.
I got to hang out with Henri. Got to hang out with Lisa Malone,
I love those two.
April Reyna. A lot of people that have been associated with Rising Tide. Even Todd Black was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like people who know me finally got to meet me. Some people got to meet me for the first time. Others, it's like, haven't seen you in over a year or more. It's glad to see that you're back out on the circuit again.
Oh yeah.
And people know it's like I really don't do that many small shows anymore. No. And it's not because I'm not wanting to sell my books. It's just that it has to be worth my time. I feel like with smaller shows, regardless of if I could sell out at a smaller show, if it's still too much of a trouble to pack up the stuff, get everything down there, drive down there, and come all the way back, where I could see, hey, I could have produced 2 more issues of a book.
Yeah,
I already produced the 2 more issues of the book than to make the travel effort to just to sell the book, sell what I already have in stock.
All right.
That's also mentioned that in that show. It's like you have to weigh things out in that aspect. Nothing against small shows.
No.
Small shows are good to build up your fan base. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't do small shows. I'm saying do what you got to do to build your brand, but don't cut everything off for the sake of production. It's like you always want to produce brand new stuff.
Right.
Never go to a show without having something brand new to show.
Yeah.
That's rule number 1 that always have to be adhered to. Try to have something new.
Yeah.
It may not be a brand new issue, but if you did like a brand new sketch card or a brand new art print, have something new that somebody has not seen before. Even if it's like, a quick little 6-page preview, have something new. People want to see growth. They don't want to see, oh, you're here with the same issue number 1 from 5 years ago, and you're still peddling that same issue number 1.
Yeah.
People want to see, how come you're not on issue 25? It's been 5 years.
Yeah. That's true. Oh, well, anyway, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
I mean, Monday is, like I said, I had to get it out of me because, like, I didn't want to rant, but also wanted to make the point where people understood where I was coming from, why it was irking.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I do not mean this in a derogatory way, but I call them civilians. The people that aren't sitting on our side of the tables don't understand what we do to get there. Even though I tend to do medium-sized shows more than anything now, but because I like the intimacy, but it's not any easier to do those, like to set up, etc., than it is to do a large show. And I was in Artist Alley at I shared a table with somebody at C2E2 about 5 years ago. In fact, that's where I met Todd Black. So similar amount of effort. It just depends on what kind of payoff you need. And sometimes you have to do a show to know it's not your show.
That is true. And like I said, most of the stuff that I learned, and this is ironic, I want to bring this up real quick, and we could, whatever happens here. I learned the majority of my stuff about shows by doing larger shows.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know how and why?
Yeah, let's hear.
Because I had a couple of come to Jesus meetings about doing Artist Alley as opposed to doing a company booth. Some of those conversations that I had with Reed Pop still stick with me to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did a video on this. It's like why people get so upset about, oh, I can't get into Artist Alley. It's like, you don't understand. Artist Alley is more of a competition to get into.
Yeah.
And if you're local, good luck. You're not getting in. And sometimes, and this is what Reed Pop had, when I said come to Jesus meeting, it's like Reed Pop sat me down. It's like, you got multiple titles, you got multiple issues, you got all this other merch. Why don't you come out and put on that hat as a publisher like you're supposed to?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about Artist Alley. You can do small press. And if small press is is not enough traffic for you, come on and do the premiere booth.
Mm-hmm.
After that meeting, and I took that gamble, that working relationship has always been there.
Good.
Few other shows the same way, bigger shows, has always taught me that's the avenue to go. I'm not saying don't do Artist Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to.
Well, especially if you're starting out, yeah.
No, not even when you start.
Really?
Not even when you're starting out. It really depends on where you are at in your creative process.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're starting out, and this is mistake number 2 that most people who starts out makes dealing with Comic Cons and shows. Don't go to a Comic Con and show with one book.
Agreed. Yes. Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yep.
One book at art prints, you don't have enough to keep people interested.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're going to have something more than just my issue number 1. You probably want to come out to a show where you have like your 3rd issue and a whole bunch of other products like buttons, art prints, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
To start really spreading your word, because by the time you get to your 3rd issue, you have already built up a fan base. You already built up a mailing list and everything. You could let people know that you're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come to these shows expecting that, I'm going to make all these fans. Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
The shows are not there for you to truly make fans like you think. These shows are more so for you to expand your branding, for people to see what grandiose brand that you're trying to build. That's the reason why you have to get these types of banners and get all the logos work and the designs and stuff for logos and stuff to where it pops, where people can remember it.
Right. That's true.
And 9 times out of 10, on your very first show, hardly anybody going to come up to you. Why? Because people don't know who you are, and most of the time they're going to think you're going to be fly by night. You're here today, gone tomorrow.
Right. That's true.
It's not until you do a show for like your 3rd time that people really now see you as serious.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. That's a good point there. That of course, I do mostly books, prose, rather than comics. Although I do both now. Nobody really took me seriously as a writer till I had my 3rd physical book out, because a lot of people look at your stuff and think, oh, he's only got one book. He's a hobbyist. And people, I think, are more likely to support somebody who, like you said, has the proper branding, who looks like a professional, somebody who's in it for the long haul. And, like you said, I did my 3rd physical book. And suddenly my sales went up astronomically because one, I had my branding act together. I had my pitches down, and because you also use that period to practice and find your groove. And then then by the time you get your 3rd book out, people are like, oh, I guess you're going to be a fixture here. Let's see what you've got.
it's a matter of co-investment,
Mhm.
investing in your talent and your time. Like Joe says, you
Yep.
may not make a profit this time, but did you make did you did you did you build your brand and did you make inroads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the other side, you have customers who they may love your pitch, they may love the idea that you put out there, but if they feel like you may not be there in a few seasons, are they going to invest their time and effort to get to know that world that you're
Mhm.
building? You know, you've got to give them confidence in what you're doing, and that it will be there for um, worthy of their investment of time and money, but mainly of their time, their focus of getting to know those characters.
Yes.
So it's investment on both sides.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I think more that's why you see people like Joe succeeding, or like a Dirk Manning who's there every year, or a Todd Black who is there every year. Kudos
Right.
to Todd.
And I'm
So
just I'm just getting to the point of understanding that with like Stormgate, my B-Man character, there's by the time all the planned pulp realities are done, we'll have a story arc. And then I can build on that from there.
mhm.
And the fact that there's a B-Man story in each one, and they stand alone, but they connect each other, I think is a strong selling point of, oh yes, you'll get the story. If you buy a story, you'll understand it and you'll get there. But if you get all of them, you will see a bigger narrative forming. So that's my goal, at least, and I think I'm actually achieving that into 2022. So
Excellent. We just have to get you on the road now.
Mhm.
I have to do more live show. That's true. Jenny has been doing her crafting things outdoors when
Mhm.
weather allows, but we have not done very much. I have been to a lot of places in the past, but not since COVID.
Right.
So yeah, I got to get out there
Understood.
and got to get out there and do more
Yeah.
live.
Well, hopefully things will get better in 2022
Yes.
as far as that goes. So, but anyway, we've got a compliment here. No, heaven knows I should share the compliments we get. Lee Reese says you guys are throwing out some great advice for us newcomers. Thank you, Lee. We, like I said, as part of the rising tide thing, that all of us are a part of here. That I think I can say for all of us, we've gotten some advice from people who are further up the chain of command than we are. They didn't have to do it,
Mhm.
and they didn't. The only is because they got that advice from somebody else in the past,
Mhm.
and the only way to pay these people back is to pay it forward.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
so, and thank you, Carl Witzman. We appreciate that so much. Thank you very much for being here. And I know you got to make your way over to Joe Dog McKeel and Stupid O'Clock. So we'll see you and Donna later, I know. So thank you, Carl. And don't forget, Carl Witzman is an author himself. He and Donna Carleen have books on lulu.com. Please check them out. And Carl hates me because every time he turns around, I give him a new idea for a new book. It's called One of Us. One of Us. It worked for Todd Browning, but anyway. So anyway, I think that's a good note to end this show on. So once again, thank you, Jody McFee, as always, for stepping
Not a
up
problem.
here, man. You always make this a treat, man.
Not a problem. Like I said, it's like you two are like the what is it, the Paul McCartney and the George Harrison.
There you go.
I gotta be Pete Best.
And I was thinking of you more like Billy Preston. You're that guy that comes in and brings in the new energy.
There you go.
So you're Billy Preston. If only I could be Billy Preston. If only I had the talent of any one of those guys. That makes me nauseous. But anyway, let's tell people how. And there she is. And good night, beautiful you, Mwah, Keisha. Keep calling us beautiful. And I'll keep calling you beautiful because I'll be telling the truth. Then Lee Reese says that's a big part of why I love this community. Generally, people are willing to give a hand up if they think you are working hard for yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lee. That I think we have all given advice. We have invested energy on people that aren't willing to learn. Because I get a lot of people that ask me advice, basically hoping that I will validate their lack of knowledge in that area, and that I'm supporting the assumption they have jumped to. I get a lot of that. And Ace Bonnie says, do you want to know what the best part of the show was? The end. Take care, all. Thanks, Ace. Good to see you, buddy. But anyway, Lee, it was good to see you, too. And anytime you need some a handout, as far as the knowledge, come talk to any of us. We are here all the time. And also we're going to be bringing back Clever Title Pending in January, hopefully, if I can get my act together and make some deadlines. That'd be nice. But anyway, and also you can find us 3 times a week on Nevermind Furthermore. But I'm going to take the spotlight eventually, and I shouldn't be taken away from these guys. Jody McFee, again, thank you, my friend, for being here. Please tell everyone how they can keep up with you.
Okay, you can keep up with me. I'm normally out there on Facebook, DeviantArt, Instagram. Not so much on Twitter, but you can hit me up on Twitter. However, you can always communicate with me.
Like that person.
Yeah, like that person, which I got to talk to him later. You can always communicate with me on my show from the Desolate Small Press Publisher right here on the Rising Tide Network, Saturday evenings at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time here. Yay. And every so often, I will be here on Comic Book Spectrum when the original Fab Four is that. Like I said, I'm kind of like Pete Best. So if the Beatles need to get together and they need a drummer, I'm the one that they're going to call on. And Ringo Starr is not here.
Well, no, I see you as Billy Preston because Pete Best didn't get to come back.
That's true.
Yeah. They invited Billy Preston.
But the only reason I think about Pete Best more because Pete Best was there before even Ringo, and just like, I don't know what happened.
Martin didn't like him. So anyway, thank you, Jody McFee. As always, my friend, you're the best. Not just Pete Best, but the best. But anyway, and Clyde Hall, always glad to have you here. Please tell the people how they can follow your amazing exploits.
Well, you can follow me on Facebook under Clyde Hall or Radiating Positive Vibes with author Clyde Hall. I am on Twitter at CJ Hall 1984. And on both of those venues, on Fridays, normally I will put up a written version of my review. So if you caught part of it, or if you missed the show and you want to read the review, you can go to those places to find it. You can also find my work for Stormgate Press on Pulp Reality 1, Pulp Reality 2, and now Pulp Reality 3, part of the new pulp genre, at www.stormgatepress.com. Or all 3 are available on Amazon. And every Thursday night, you can find me with my fellow comic book reviewers right here, looking for the best new reads available with a faraway, grinchy glint of greed in our beady yellow eyes at Comic Book Spectrum.
Thank you so very much, Clyde. You guys are great. You guys make this worth doing every week. Thank you, Clyde. Thank you, Joe. And I'm Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publications, Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Follow my exploits at risingtide.pub. I am on most social media as Brian K. Morris, or on Instagram, I'm Brian K. Morris. And anyway, we've got all kinds of cool stuff here. We are mostly found on Amazon because we do a lot of publishing there, and also on Smashwords. We're also in the second volume called Biff Bam Meow. With these are articles about various episodes of the second season of the Batman television series, and the first volume from Crazy 8 Press and Becky Books, a co-collaboration. It's Zlonk Zok Zowie. Ask for these both by name. They're both available on Amazon, plus my own work such as Volcano Rebirth of the Champion, the original Skyman Battles of Master of Steam, and Santa Stein, the post-holiday Prometheus. A good read for holidays and for someone you love. But anyway, we also have a lot of stuff here that we do on broadcasting. We're on YouTube, and we are a part of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. 7 days a week of information and illumination and entertainment. Like I said, It's already started. Stupid O'Clock with Joe Dog McKeel and friends, followed by Dan Hollifield's Last Man Standing tomorrow morning. Never mind the furthermore with me doing this, except I'm taking your comments and reading them, and you talk back to me. It's like a talk show, but we type a lot of it. Anyway, at 7 p.m., we'll be Drinking with the Davies, where Christine and Ted Davies will be spotlighting some festive holiday adult beverages that you'll need to watch. And also following that at 8 p.m. will be the Historical Fencing Guild with Nick Tockard, where he teaches you to kill people safely. We'll have more programming notes tomorrow on Never Mind the Furthermore. Also, we want to thank our Patreon supporters who, for a modest monthly stipend, support this show and all that we do. And we do appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so very much. And if you want to see what I will do for you in return for your financial support, go to www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris and become a patron of this show. And also we want to thank, most assuredly, we want to thank Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. Good wraparound covers, good selling pieces on social media, good book trailers. Good God, why haven't you contacted Jeffrey Hayes yet? You can check out his Facebook page and also check out plasmafiregraphics.com for more information. And please get his rate sheet. He is so very affordable and great to work with. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it definitely matters to your readers. And we want to thank everyone for being here. Brian Rodman, we love you, man. And you too, Eric Hawkins, we miss you. And we will be back next Thursday on Christmas Eve with a review of books. And plus, we will be appearing with the Dastardly Dingoes on the 21st of December. We're going to have another crossover show. And I think we're going to be reviewing some Christmas-themed stuff. So please check us out on the Dastardly Dingoes Tuesday nights. In fact, it'll be this Tuesday night, I believe, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. So please check us out. And we want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for your attention. And we will see you next week on this great show. I love the show. I love the people on it. Anyway, have a great evening. Support your local comic book shop. And as always, stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Thank you for showing up at Comic Book Spectrum, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for watching Comic Book Spectrum, a Rising Tide Broadcast Network production. Please join us next week for another look at comics, past, present, and future. If you enjoyed this, please give the show a like and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. To receive our free monthly newsletter, go to www.risingtide.pub and be sure to give the Rising Tide Broadcast Network page on Facebook a like in order to receive news about upcoming shows, including Clever Title Pending, Stupid O'Clock, Clever as Hail, Comics Chaos and Sass, Tidbits and Scribbles, the Historical Fencing Guild, and Never Mind the Furthermore. See you next week.